when you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting that people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, we're requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing. Marla Billinghurst is on the screen. And Robert Phillick is to the left of me. The assessor today will be Mark Galrigi and Marina Kenawawa, right? Is that close enough? And the secretary is Kara Belshaw. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. Matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. Statements that the applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing, issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after the applications have been heard. And the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. And I'd ask all of you, please put your phones on silent. I'll start with you.
Please state your name.
Marina Gantika Penora.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Please state your name.
Mark Newman.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
First property on the docket today is 1-1320 Ellis. When you are ready.
Thank you. Mr. Chair. I will speak up loud.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, thank you. Property address, Unit 1, 1320 Ellis Avenue. Business assessment ID 53626. Property names, Garbanos Playmakers. This property has 9,936 square feet as permiss area. We use $22.04 per square feet as model driven market rent to assess this property. Total ARV today 243,360. This property is occupied by owner. There are no lease information here. My rent comparables are in bottom table. All the rent comparables are within close proximity, and also all of them are restaurant or there's kind of sports bar. All of the rents are in somewhat close to the reported rent square footage, which is my smallest one, which is first comparable. It has leasable area of 3,652, and also it has the reported rent is higher. I'm not comparing those ones direct to the subject tenant, but those are comparables. You can see the range, $29 to $21.76. subject tenant is within the range of that rent comparables, I'm asking to confirm the ARV as. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Questions? Mark?
Yes, so the subject, as you noted, is 9,936 square feet, correct?
Yes.
So it is a minimum of 2,300 square feet larger than any of your comparables, correct?
Yes.
And all of your comparables are in what I will call the St. James Polo Park area.
Yes.
But many of them, I'll suggest to you, have much greater visibility because the streets they are located on. So let's just look at them for a moment. 1017 St. James, your second comparable, that's on the corner of Ellis and St. James, correct?
Yes.
And that's a Smitty's restaurant, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Your number 3 is the Boston Pizza on the corner of Ness and St. James, correct?
Yes.
That's right opposite Polo Park.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 4, 1596 Ness, that is the One Great Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And as you are eastbound on Ness, coming off Route 90, heading to Polo Park, that premises will be fully visible to you because it's where the old Consumers Distributing was many, many years ago, correct? You're not sure?
It's very subjective. Yeah, you are kind of right.
I'm right about where it is. So
Yes.
it's part of Madison Square.
Yeah, it's location-wise, it is correct.
And as you're heading eastbound to Polo Park on Ness, you're going to drive right by it.
Yes.
It's in that building that is closest to Ness.
Yes.
Okay. And then your 1501 St. Matthews, I believe that's Hooters?
Yes.
Okay. And then your first one, Jack Blick Avenue, that's Cora's Restaurant.
Yes.
And that is the newest, of course. That's a new building, isn't it? A relatively new building.
Relatively new, and also it's relatively new.
Yes. And that is part of what I'll call the Polo Park complex.
Yeah, it's actually, I put the range of the comparables, but it's not the 100% comparable.
All right. So, all right, let me ask you a couple of other questions then. The subject property is located, it's got a 1320 Ellis address. Would you agree with me that that is approximately the southeast corner of Ellis and Empress?
Yes.
And as you drive along Empress, you can't get directly into the site because of the creek, because Omens Creek runs along there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you agree with me that all of your comparables have either greater visibility or a better location for restaurant purposes?
Visibility and the location is very subjective.
Yeah.
It's based on people's choice.
Okay. All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
Bob?
No questions.
Marla?
No questions.
Is this part of the hotel complex?
No, it's kind of, it is a part of the, one of the buildings in that district retail location.
We have a map here.
There's not
Yeah.
a map here. Do you have a map there?
Yeah, under, right below, map 1, map 2,
Why don't I can?
on the schedule.
Hmm?
You have to go back.
I gotta go back?
Yeah.
So I gotta shut this off?
There's map 1.
Click here, right?
Yep.
this is your maps. You listed 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Well, it's
Yes.
not working.
You can go to map 2.
I'm still trying to get there, just.
I've distributed hard copy.
You did?
I didn't hand it over. We'll just click on this.
Yeah,
And then there.
map 1, map 2.
And the subject
Cannot
property
access.
is the one with the circle
Yes,
with the,
yes. With the teardrop.
hmm,
Okay, for some reason it's not letting me in. It's just being fussy with me, I guess.
You have it? Yeah. Okay.
Do you want the hard copy?
I'm on the screen here. Thanks.
So to answer your question, Mr. Laurendeau, the block of Empress between St. Matthews to the south and Ellis to the north is made up of the Canad Polo Park Inn in the southern half of that block. And then the northern half of that block is what I'll call a shopping center, which has a variety of tenants as part of it. And these premises are at the extreme north end of that collection of structures. And I'll actually show you a picture in my brief, which is a little bit more detailed of it.
Okay, I've got no further questions at this time. We'll see what you bring forward.
Okay, so maybe it's simplest if we start in my brief at the third photograph in, which is labeled 1320 Ellis.
I know where you
1045, 1320, yeah.
And you can see in that photo that there's Yisk, and then there's Winners, and to the left of Winners, you can see a change in elevation of the roof. This 9,936 square feet is in that portion of the building, so that's north. That's at the northern edge where the roof is lower. And that's where it's located. The space was vacant for many, many years. A long time ago, there was a Chinese food buffet called Foodie Goody, which went out of business many years ago. The space was vacant for years. And ultimately, the owner, because they could not lease it, decided to occupy it themselves. And that's the end result of this space. So my overall view, and that's why I just wanted to provide the mapping to you, is that this location is on the periphery of what I call the St. James Polo Park area. And if you look at the first page of my mapping, you can see the subject circled with a red circle with the teardrop on it. And I've marked the assessor's comparables as 1, 3, and 2 as you go up. Number 1 is the Coras. And as I described earlier in questions, that's part of the Polo Park complex. Then you've got the Hooters, which is essentially at the corner of St. Matthews and St. James. And then you've got the Smitty's, number 2, which is at the corner of St. James and Ellis. And then if you turn the page, go to the second page of my comps, you've got number 3 is the Boston Pizza at the corner of St. James and Ness, right opposite Polo Park. And then you've got the One Great City Brewing Company, which is labeled as number 4. And again, as you're eastbound on Ness heading to Polo Park, that's the building it's in. It's in that end building, and it'll stare you right in the face. And all of these locations, I'll suggest to you, are superior to the subject. This was a difficult property because it is on the periphery. And again, if you look at the mapping, you can see that Empress runs along from bottom to top of the picture. You can see, of course, that Omens Creek then separates these premises from Empress, and access ultimately is either off Ellis at the north end or off St. Matthews and crossing through the Canad Polo Park parking lot to get to the site. And so from my perspective, it does not have the same visibility. It's on the periphery. It was very difficult space to lease. In my comparables, and let me just turn the pages on those. So 13, well, let me start with 1045 Ellis, which is my second photo in. I selected 1045 Ellis because, and the teardrop shows where it is, it's at the corner of Ellis and St. James, that the greater shopping complex is. But 1045 Ellis is actually set back. It's on the, what I'll call the interior of the site. And so it too will suffer from some visibility issues. But here's a lease that was put in place for 5,697 square feet at $14.53 in April of 2016. The next page of the photos is 1320 Ellis. We've talked about that already. Then 1596 Ness. And 1596 Ness, I put it in for the Dollarama, which is in at $19 retail. And you can see the Dollarama in that photo. The Trans-Canada Brewing space is actually, or the One Great Brewing Company space is actually right beside it. It wasn't there at the point this photo was taken. But again, you can see that as you're headed into Polo Park, that location, 1596 Ellis, is highly visible. 969 St. James, that's where the Hooters is located. I put it in as well for the 8,677 square feet that's located there. That's used for retail. And then 1038 St. James, again, high visibility on St. James. And that's used for service purposes at $15.91 a square foot. And then 1395 Ellis, which was the first of my photos. And that space fronting onto Ellis. And again, with lots of visibility in at $15. And then finally 840 St. James. I don't have a photo of that. That's a larger space at 24,000 square feet. That's the Michael space along St. James. So again, the real difference, I think, between us is the selection of comparables selected by the assessor shows a range of $29 down to $21.76. The subject is larger than all of them. I don't get the sense that the assessor is putting any great weight on any of them, but rather simply wanted to present you with a range. When you get to the bigger space, the values tend to come down, of course. And again, my suggestion is that all of the assessor's comps are better spaces in terms of a restaurant use. They are more in the heart of the St. James Polo Park area than the subject is. And for all of those reasons, I've ultimately selected $18 a square foot as the rate for the subject property. And therefore, I'm requesting a value of $203,184. Subject to your questions, that's my submission.
Marina, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Speak up, please.
Oh, sorry, I will. Mr. Newman, what's the operation for the subject location?
What is the operation?
Yeah.
It's a pizza, sports bar type of theme.
Okay. What is the best comparable out of your list to match with your tenant location and the use?
Well, the best comparables would be the other ones at 1320 Ellis. They would be the most comparable in terms of location because I've listed two comparables in there. Now they are retail use, they're not restaurant use. The closest comparable that's a restaurant use would be at 1045 St. James, which is a little bit further west along Ellis.
Okay, what's in the 1045 St. James? What's the restaurant in there? What's the restaurant name in the 1045?
It's a Korean type restaurant.
Okay, and is it smaller than your subject tenant?
Yes,
location?
it's 5,697 square feet.
Okay. What is in but you picked 1840 St. James as your best comparable?
No. Well, I looked at the range here, And again, 840 St. James at $18 has got a much better location in terms of visibility. It's part of that strip of big box retailers along St. James.
Is it Best Buy?
No, it's Michael's.
Michael's,
Yeah.
okay.
So Best Buy, Future Shop, all those.
Okay, and do you think those retail stores will be the better comparables than the restaurant comparables for this your restaurant?
From a locational perspective, I believe they are superior. The use of 840 St. James is a different use than 1320 Ellis, the subject. But again, the owner is there, frankly, because they tried to lease it for 6 or 7 years and could not, and finally decided to occupy it themselves.
Okay, and does restaurant need better ventilation system, better kind of improvements to run a restaurant than just the retail store?
Well, I've been in this space. I mean, both of them need air conditioning if you're going to keep the customers happy.
How about the ventilation for the restaurant kitchen and all those?
There's no question the kitchen will need different ventilation. I agree.
Okay. So.
But there was a restaurant there before, when it was the Foodie Goody.
Yes, that I understand. When you talk about your comparables, you talk about the Hooters, right?
Yes.
But it is in your comparable list?
No.
No, it's in my list, right?
It's in your list.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to know. And all of your comparables, mainly retail units, except restaurant, Korean type restaurant.
Yes, generally, yes.
Retail, yes.
Yes.
That's all my question. Thank you.
Marla, any questions?
No questions.
Bob?
No questions.
I'm still trying to picture this. So that was the Footy Goody before. Is it in between those? If you go to your picture that you took, 1320 Ellis.
In my
You say
brief?
it's in between Jessica and
No.
Winners?
No, it's at the very north end of the building. So if you look, you can see a change in roof elevation. So you see the Winners sign?
Yeah,
Now go to the left of that.
yeah,
You see how the roof height
Yeah.
comes down? That's the space.
that's the space.
That's that end space. That is exactly the space.
So that's,
It's long, it's deep, it's narrow.
so what's the road just beside it?
Ellis,
That's Ellis right there?
Yes.
They got direct access there on Ellis.
that's correct.
But Foodie Goody is the previous tenant.
That's correct. I'm aware of that. Now, this is a Playmakers as well, correct?
Yes,
So it's got all the VLTs in there.
it
And
does.
any of your other ones have the amount of VLTs this one has?
No.
What's the rent on the Winners? It's in the same building. You didn't give that to us, did you?
The winner's rent has traditionally been low. I've done the realty appeal on this property. So the winner's rent has traditionally been in the $12 range, but you're right, it's not listed here.
And neither is the Jisk, is it?
Jisk is here. Jisk is $13.25.
And that's more warehouse space, correct? Like
It's in terms of,
it's treated as warehouse.
in terms of the level of finish, it's a lower level retail finish is how I would describe it.
Inside.
It's not fancy. That's their business model, places like that.
And Jisk is which one on your comparable?
It's on the same photo as 13. Oh, it's the second one. 16,875 square feet.
15,000.
16,875.
So right up to the top.
Yeah, 16,875.
Yeah.
I'll just see it there. Give me a minute. I'm a little slow this morning. I'm sorry.
That's
You were saying, so you're proposing at $18 a square foot.
That's correct.
Okay, I've got no further questions. That'll conclude that matter. Anything in summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Let's move to 166 Meadowwood Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Property address 45, Unit 45, 166 Meadowwood Drive. This is the basement unit. Business assessment ID 32476. Owners PRN's Properties Limited. This unit has 5,261 square feet of space. You can see that pictures of the location in my brief. If you turn second page and third page, you can see unit CRU 45. It's in the basement location. It has a odd shape of it is a odd shape of unit. It has 5,261 square feet, and also page I submitted today. That's the income expenses page, and owner reported unit 45 is the management office / vacant is 5,261 square feet. That's how they reported. That's how we use in our system. I put the rent comparables. All of those rent comparables are basement rents. The lowest rent is $7 and highest rent is $10. But we use $9.35 of model-driven market rent to calculate final ARV of 62,100. Today, I'm making a recommendation based on the use of this property. This is used by owner part for his management company, part for his personal use as per the art studio. Today, I'm using $8 per square feet. I'm making a recommendation to reduce the rental rate, $8 per square feet, based on the size and the location of basement. My recommendation to reduce annual rental value to 54,906. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mark, are you okay with that number?
No.
Okay, then let's see if there's some questions.
Have you inspected the premises?
I did, not for this cycle, last cycle.
2018?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I don't think there was an appeal in 18, perhaps 2016.
Not for the BA, but the realty.
And did you go into the basement as part of that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take the elevator down?
No, I took the staircase.
Because there is no elevator, is there?
I don't know.
Okay. So your comparables, let's just talk about them for a moment. 121 Osborne, so that's between Stradbrook and River, correct?
I think so. Honestly, I did not check all the
Okay.
locations.
Do you know that it's retail use?
Give me 1 second. I have. Yeah.
Retail use, okay. 90 Gary Street, that's the apartment building opposite the Fort Garry Rideau Towers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Owned by Crystal Developers, and that is office space in the basement, correct?
Yes, it is office. I did not check all the information. I only checked what kind of use.
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't check the owner's information.
That's okay. And do you agree there's an elevator?
I don't know.
Okay. 175 Carlton. That is opposite the convention center between St. Mary's and York. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And it's part of the complex. It's part of the original Lakeview Square development. Do we agree that it's connected to the Delta Hotel?
I don't know.
Okay. And in the basement, is this the Ichiban or the Shannon's Irish pub space?
It's Irish.
The Irish pub, okay. 106 Osborne, that's post-reference, but ignore that for the moment.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's a month old.
I understand.
I know. Sorry.
Also a retail use?
Yes.
A vape shop? You don't know, okay. 185 Provence, there's 2 spaces there. Let's deal with the larger one, your last comparable. Is that an office for a company called Preferred Dental Tech?
Yes.
Okay. And the smaller space, is that the building manager occupying that?
Yes.
Okay. So the building manager is in 585 square feet at $8. Did that assist you in making your recommendation?
I kind of go with the average, what kind of wood is around $8.
Okay. Now, all of these businesses in your comparables, they are businesses that are operated for profit, correct?
I think yes.
Okay. And you've indicated that the subject property, part of it is the management office, and you brought forth the rent roll showing the landlord's or the owner's description as being management office / vacant.
Yes.
And you agree that a large portion of this space is not used by the company that manages their properties. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no.
Okay, tell me, yes and no. Give it to me, give me both.
Okay. Yes, because that's owner-occupied space, bigger owner-occupied space.
Yeah.
Owner operate that use that space to manage his property,
Right.
and owner use that space to operate his own art business.
Right.
Then it is the owner's choice using part of his management office and part of his art business. I don't know how he sells the art, but it is, to me, it's an art studio.
So let's make a distinction. The assessed party is PRN's Properties Ltd. That is the assessed party, correct?
Yeah.
That is the party the city says occupies 5,261 square feet, correct?
Yes.
And if I suggest to you that that company does not occupy 5,261 square feet, but the husband of one of the owners of that company
One of the directors.
occupies 4,200 square feet, do you agree with that?
I have very difficulty being agree to that one. The way its owner reported to us, it's the owner reported us as a management and the vacant, and also in all the maps we have, they showed as it's a one unit, and it is really hard to me to divide 2 units and picture as a 2 units.
Okay, those are my questions.
Bob, any questions?
No.
Marla, any questions?
No questions.
On with your presentation, Mr. Newman.
Okay, so there's 2 things to deal with here. One is the rent, and the other is a little bit more of a legalistic issue, and that's the question of whether these premises, but more appropriately their entirety, are even subject to business tax. So if we go to my brief, and maybe it's useful to look at the photos first, just so it's clear what we're dealing with here. And the photos are numbered. So you see in photo number 1, that is the office area. And let me just go back a bit. The history of this building is somewhat unusually, there's 14,000 square feet of space in the basement. When the building was built, Fanny's Fabrics took the entirety of the basement. There's even a conveyor belt that brought in their bolts of fabric down into the basement. That's still there to this day. It's useless, but it's still there. So that's how the space was developed. You can see the linoleum tile. That's the original tile floor. You can see, and then you'll see it in other photos, that the roof is exposed. It's the concrete. But this is the area that is used by the management company Through those double doors, you can see the stairs down. I've been there. I'm the one who took these pictures. And again, this space is occupied really as a matter of convenience. The owner has found it impossible to keep the basement space leased. Without an elevator, there's no barrier-free access. So this photo looks out to the doors that access the space. The second photo is the sort of taken from where the first photo is, and it shows the back corner of the office space. It also shows the partitioning wall. The third photo is a photo of the desk that's in the space. The fourth photo is now taken essentially from the doors looking into the space as a whole. And you can see the various areas that you saw in the earlier photos. And at the top of the first photo, at the desk at the rear, you can again see that partitioning wall that was visible to you in photo number 2. So as we keep going, there's that, in number 5, there's that partitioning wall again. And just to the left edge is that desk that's at the rear of the office space. And then here is a partition that partitions off the office space from the balance of the space. And then when we get into the balance of the space, now we're into the balance of the space. And you can see the same linoleum tiles. You can see artwork hung because again, the husband of one of the principals of the company is an artist who chooses to paint in this area. And that's what it is. It's essentially an art studio, but it's an art studio with some, I'm going to use the word toys. Because if you look at photo number 7, for example, you can again see that partitioning wall, and you can see on the right-hand side of the photo a grand piano. Every business premises should have a grand piano in it, I think. If you keep going, there's a better photo, number 8, of the grand piano. If you keep going, there's more photos of the basement area. If you look at number 10, every business should have a pool table in it as well. And if you look at number 11, you essentially see the same thing. So I said to you, there's 2 questions here. One is there a business being carried on in this space? And my submission to you is that there is not. And so now we have to look at the legislation. And so now if you go to my brief, at the bottom of page 2, I've got the heading legislation. And from the City of Winnipeg Charter, there are certain definitions. There's a definition of business, which means a commercial, merchandising, industrial activity or undertaking. And there are some additional definitions. Section 316(2) of the City of Winnipeg Charter on page 3, and I've highlighted certain portions, says that subject to subsection 3 and subsection 317, which are specific exemptions, premises used or occupied by a person for carrying on a business in the city are liable to be assessed and must be assessed at a sum equal to the annual rental value. Section 316(3) creates an exception to that. And those exceptions are in subparagraph A, if the premises are impractical to determine the annual rental value. And then later in the legislation, it contemplates a license fee for space like that. But subparagraph B, the use of which is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. So subsection 316(2) essentially says, assess all space occupied for businesses, but 316(3) sub B says, but not if the use is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. So I brought you one other piece of information, a decision from the Manitoba Court of Appeal. I'd forgotten about this when I put this brief together. I was counsel in this case in 1991. the Manitoba Court of Appeal dealt with an issue involving Unicity Racket Club, the tennis club on Taylor. And the argument was that that tennis club was not there for purposes of profit, and it was there for purposes of fostering tennis in the city of Winnipeg. A group of residents had gotten together and they put it together and got the premises constructed. So in the Court of Queen's Bench, the ruling of the court was that we fell within an exemption, and therefore it was not subject to business tax. When we went to the Court of Appeal, the city appealed. Denise Pomeroy was counsel for the city at the time. When we went to the Court of Appeal said the judge got it right in the result, but for the wrong reason. The judge said you fell within an exemption. We don't think that's the issue. You're actually not even caught in the first place because the purpose of the operation is not to earn a profit. And if you look at paragraph 4 of the decision,
We don't have a copy.
We don't have any of that.
I handed them out. They're both online, and I brought hard copies.
We have to go back.
I have it.
Yeah, I got it now.
So if you look at the second page of the decision, actually start at the first page, definitions from the Old City of Winnipeg Act, definition of business at the bottom, very similar to what you see there today. Section 176 is very similar to Section 316. Premises used by a person carrying on a business shall be assessed for a sum equal to the annual rental value, and the assessment shall be known as the business assessment, and the tax shall be known as the business tax. Section 179 creates the exemptions, and the conclusion was that it fell within an exemption. Now go to paragraph 4, because this is really the key to the decision by the Court of Appeal. In our opinion, the city has not overcome the threshold of establishing that the premises in question are used for carrying on a business. So I stopped there to note the onus is on the city as the party attempting to impose the tax to prove that there's a business being carried on there. First thing I note. The leading authority to determine if an activity is the carrying on of a business is the Regional Assessment Commissioner, and there's a 1983 Supreme Court case, which go to the right-hand column at the top. Even an openly conducted venture in which the earning of a profit is clearly contemplated will not by that fact alone be classified as a business for assessment purposes, where the intent to make a profit is not the preponderant purpose, but merely incidental. It is strong authority for the application of the preponderant purpose test in answering the question before the court. So this is a Supreme Court of Canada case now adopted by the Manitoba Court of Appeal, which says the test is the preponderant purpose to earn a profit? And that language has actually been enshrined in section 316(3). And if you go back to page 3 of the text of my brief, I took you to this already, but the subsection 2, which is the section that makes all premises subject to business assessment, the exception to that, subsection 2 does not apply to premises, the use of which is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. So exactly what this case says, and that was the conclusion of the court, that the Unicity Racket Club, the tennis club, it wasn't there to earn a profit, and therefore it wasn't subject to business tax to even begin with. Never mind, the Court of Queen's Bench said it fell within the exemption. The conclusion of the Court of Appeal was, never mind the exemption, you don't even get to the exemption because it's not liable to be taxed to begin with because its preponderant purpose was not earning a profit. That's enshrined in section 316 sub 3. And so what we say to you ultimately is, whatever's going on in this other 4,200 square feet, there's no business going on here. This is an owner of a building who chooses to occupy this space for purposes of enjoying his talent as an artist, for purposes of playing the piano, for purposes of playing pool, for things like that. There's no business or there's no operation, the preponderant purpose of which is earning a profit that is being carried on in that premises. And so I say to you, at the end of the day, what we're saying to you is take 1,000 square feet, that office area that you saw in the photo, make it liable to a business assessment. We'll talk about the number in a moment. The assessor's now recommending $8. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the rest of the space, 4,261 square feet, we're saying to you, is not captured by the legislation because the purpose of what is going on there, the preponderant purpose of what is going on there is not to earn a profit. That's the first thing I say to you. The second thing I say to you is PRNs. PRNs Properties Ltd, the assessed party, is not the party occupying that other space. It is the artist who is occupying that other space. So the city has assessed the wrong party to begin with for that other space, but in any event, there's no business being carried on, so it shouldn't be liable to assessment. And so I'm saying to you, at the end of the day, what should be assessed is 1,000 square feet. I said to you, in my experience, space in a basement will run in the $6, $7 per square foot range. I didn't give you comparables. It's not easy to find basement comparables, frankly. The assessor's comparables are generally retail or office. They are generally comparables which have elevator access. One of them is the restaurant beneath 175 Carlton. So elevator access is common, retail use, office use, they're all going to bring higher values than this 4,261 square feet. So I was suggesting $6 to $7, the assessor's at $8. Frankly, at the end of the day, it doesn't make that much difference. What's more important to me is that it be only 1,000 square feet and not 5,261 square feet. And as the questionnaire the assessor gave you has reported, the owner reports part of it being used as management and part of it being used, part of it being vacant rather. And in their mind, it's vacant because the artist is occupying the other space as a matter of convenience, really, and nothing more than that. So I've been a little long-winded. I apologize. And that's my submission subject to questions.
Very good question.
Thank you. Mr. Newman, this artist part of the directors group for the company?
Is he a director of the corporation?
Yes.
Truthfully, I don't know, but if you've checked and you're satisfied he is, I'll accept that.
Okay. Does he sell the artwork from that unit?
What I am told is that he does not, but I'm not also going to suggest to you that if somebody was down there one day and saw a picture, the artist might not take the opportunity to complete a sale. I can't tell you that.
Okay. Does he operate kind of gallery opening sessions in the basement? Because all the galleries have the usual thing for the art gallery to have a grand piano, pool table. Those things are common in the art galleries. So does he operate kind of opening gallery evenings in downstairs?
Again, I don't know all the detail of that. Undoubtedly, there are people down there from time to time. I won't disagree with that.
Okay. And also in the document you provided is the court case. Then I want to read the definition. 175 in this part, page 301, business including a trade, occupation, profession, calling, manufacturing, art, venture, and the providing of goods and services. It's all included as the business. Then we cannot separate art here as not a business.
That's not the definition in force today.
Yes, the definition in the business.
That was the definition in force then. The definition today is different. But I don't disagree with you that conceptually you could have what I'll call a commercial art gallery where their business is truly the buying and selling of art. I don't believe that's the case with these premises, and that they are, again, this is the hobby, this is the whim of the husband of one of the owners of the building. So from my perspective, the preponderant purpose of what goes on there is not earning a profit, and therefore it's not subject to taxation.
Okay, and this is my last question. Does he advertise it's an art gallery in their billboard?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. That's all my questions.
Bob, questions?
I have basically almost the same question that has been asked by the assessor. First of all, the 1,000 square feet that you're saying in the pictures that we saw from the different angles, your estimate that all that is 1,000 square feet?
I think that's actually overstating it, but I've done that to be conservative.
And I was thinking also of the situation of whether this person who is painting down there would probably be selling. And when you have the definition of earning a profit, it doesn't mean that there's a profit at the end of the year. It means that we're earning revenue, and hopefully there will be a profit at the end of the year. So I was just wondering whether this person is then using this space for another venture. And of course, you said that he is one of the owners. So I would assume he would then be one of the directors of the company.
He's not the owner. He's married. He's the husband of an owner.
Okay. But there's still a connection. Right?
Obviously, there's a family connection.
Yeah, family. So you're not quite sure whether this person is selling his art there and having showings and so forth.
Again, I'm not telling you there's never been people down there, but I am advised that that is not what happens there with any regularity.
Marla?
No questions.
No questions on my behalf. And I do believe that concludes all your matters.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go to 3133. We got them online, please. And wait till we pull it up.
Good morning, Mr. Drury, can you hear me?
Nope. His microphone's off. And he's not looking at his computer. You got a phone number for him? Hello, he's on the phone on top of that. Hello? You're not on.
No, he sees us now.
He's putting it on now. Are you there?
Oh, there we go. It's almost there.
No. We're not hearing any sound.
Okay,
You're up.
Hi, Mr. Drury, can you hear us okay? Hello?
try again. I can now, yep.
Okay, just checking, did you receive the email with the assessor's brief this morning?
I'm sorry, an email with what?
With the evidence from the assessor? I sent it.
Yes, I did.
So I'll just swear you in. For the record, can you please state your name?
You know what? You're really tinny. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Can you turn it on?
Is your volume to the max?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Hold on, let's see. Do you hear me better over here?
I can hear you better, the gentleman
Okay, so we're going to swear you in first. If you could give us your name, your full name.
Richard Franklin Drury.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Didn't understand what you said, but I think you said I'm going to tell the truth, and I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to start with the assessor. And if you can bring your microphone up closer so he can hear you as close as possible. And the assessor will start now. Yeah, like this.
Sorry.
What?
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
I can.
I'm doing my presentation now. Property address 3133 Portage Avenue. Business assessment ID 32823. Business name Scoop and Save. This property assessed for 4,049 square feet as a permit size and using $13.25 per square feet market model driven rent. Today, I'm making a recommendation to reduce the base rent per square feet because that's the recommendation we make for realty recommendation, realty appeal. Today, I'm reducing rental rate to $11.21 times permit area of 4,049 square feet. My recommendation is reduce annual rental value to 55,320. But as my understanding, you have a different square footage set up in 2019 August 1st, which is we did not capture in this one. We need to inspect the property and make an arrangement to reduce the rental square footage, as is the case. So my annual rental value per square feet rate is reduced today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do you have any questions of the assessor?
Well, my only question is, I sent in a copy of my lease signed August 1st, 2019 that states that my square footage is 2,700 and some square feet. So the other, and that was a year ago, almost to the day. And so I'm wondering why it can't be just adjusted on that. You're more than welcome to come and assess my property. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't really understand the numbers that were given to me, except that it sounds like I'm still going to be assessed on 4,000 square feet.
Can I answer?
Yes, he's asked you a question.
Yeah. Yes, because my apology about I did not see your lease agreement until now. I saw it this morning. So what I can do, I can consider these numbers, but I cannot do any adjustment according reduction without inspecting or without seeing the picture or at least seeing the floor plan submitted to reduce the area. But I will do those ones and but today my annual rental value per square feet reduced to $11.21. I will apply that rent to calculate those numbers, but cannot do that at this hearing. I have to go back to office and do the work and reduce the numbers. Then once we do the numbers, you will receive a supplemental business assessment notice. And if anything you paid for the amount for the taxes will be refunded to you. But those kind of work need more study and need more time.
I understand. I'm a little surprised that you only got it this morning, given the fact that I sent my lease in about a month and a half ago. So
unfortunately, because of the current situation, assessors change. I'm the new assessor, got this a week ago. Because,
I see.
This is, we have some challenges facing right now with
I
the
see.
situation. Sorry about those kind of things. My apology for that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm fine. So someone will be in contact with me with, did you say a form that I have to fill, another application, and is somebody going to come by, or can I get my?
I will rewrite your phone number. I will call you this afternoon once I go to office, once I check the system for the new plans and everything.
Okay,
Write down your phone number.
okay.
Oh, sorry. I will get from there. Yeah.
We've got your number here, right?
Okay,
Phone number.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't.
that's fine. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll proceed with whatever. Yeah, as long as it's in the works. As long as it's in the works and something's going to be done about it, I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Marla, any questions?
No questions.
Bob?
No questions.
I've got just one. Why are we not able to just do it? We've got a copy of the contract. As a
You
board, we can drop it to that.
as a board, you can drop it, but I cannot.
No, you can, but we can.
We get.
And we've got the contract. So have you worked out the new number, what it would be with that
Because
2670 square feet?
because we usually don't confirm the square footage property plans or something, because that's the number in here, but also we need to double check with what's in our system and what's they submitted to the property and everything. That's why I'm not confirming the number.
No, you're not. We understand.
Okay.
Would it help if I got a property layout from my landlord, because it'll be on that as well?
Okay.
Now you can send that to her.
Okay. Well,
I'm just asking her some questions right now.
yeah.
So 2670 was what was on the lease, is that correct?
Yes. 2007.
Yeah, 26,070 is on lease.
I've got no further questions. Did you want to make a presentation on this, Mr. Dury?
No, I think everything's been presented. All I have is my lease as proof that it's been downsized to 2670. So, yeah, I'm just glad that it's in the works, and I look forward to talking to this young lady.
Can I answer one question?
She's got one quick question for you.
One question. The area you returned to the owner, what is in there now? Oh, it's
There's an escape room in our mall, and they took it over immediately.
okay, sure. Thank you.
Well, the real escape.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I need.
Yep.
That's it. Everything's good with you guys?
Yep.
That's their questions. Thank you very much. That'll conclude the matter. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Rocky's up next. Should we just take 5 minutes? Kick it out. First one will be Pembina Highway, right?
Is it better to withdraw?
If you can withdraw, it's easy, right? We don't, yeah.
Do you have a form?
Please state your name.
Rocky Newfeld.
Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Which one are we starting on, 2800 Pembina or?
Yes.
Okay, 2800 Pembina Highway, Unit 102. Maria, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Property address, Unit 102, 2800 Pembina Highway, Business Assessment ID 22286. Owner, Crosstown Credit Civic Credit Union Limited. This is the owner-occupied property, and we have permit area of 3,249 square feet at $17.62. Those are the model-driven market rent at TLT Board of Revision, we make a recommendation to reduce for $17 per square feet. Today I'm using the same rate as $17 per square feet. My annual rental value recommendation is $63,180. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
53,180?
Yeah.
Mr. Newfeld, you okay with that?
Yes, I'm just working out the financial implications. $16 a year. Yes, we can accept it.
You can accept 53,180? Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Any questions from the panel members?
No question.
No questions.
Let's go on to 2835 Hannah Highway, please.
Thank you.
Just give us 1 minute to pull it up, okay? 2835. Are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Property address 2835 Femina Highway, business assessment ID 50587, business name Smithy's Restaurant, Femina South. Property occupied in 7,509 square feet. We use base ARV per square feet at $20.90 per square feet, which is model-driven market rent. This property has the net lease information. They pay net rent of $22 per square feet. Our model rent is lower than what actually they are paying on this property. My rent comparables are down there. All of them are restaurants. The restaurant rate vary from $19.80 to $27 per square feet. And that's the range of restaurant rent in the Femina Highway. Today I'm asking to confirm annual rental value as. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Questions, Mr. Newfeld?
Yes, you called it a net rent. Do you have their statements with you?
I did not bring the statement. Sorry, I don't have the statement.
Are you aware that in order to fill this tenant's parking requirements that they rent a second lot behind the building?
For this one, I did not check. I'm not.
Those are my questions.
100%.
Thank you.
Bob, any questions?
No questions.
Marla, any questions?
No questions.
On with your presentation, Mr. Newfeld.
Thank you. The first thing I wanted to point out was the lot. Now, just background, and this is in your additional information. And what this is a listing from the city of Winnipeg, property for sale. This is the parking lot directly behind 2835 Femina. There isn't enough land on the subject property to meet the parking bylaw requirements required for a restaurant. And as a result of the need, they rented this lot from the city. And the city recently put it up for sale and canceled their lease. And it was a year-to-year arrangement anyway, and subject to cancellation by the city. So it has been canceled. And as far as the asking price is, I think it's absurd, but the interesting thing about this lot is on the back page, there's a picture of this extra lot, and it does not have access off Kirkbridge. Its only access is actually from the subject property's curb cut, and it's very close to the railway tracks. So, but it's gone. That's the point. The face rent was $22. I do not dispute that. However, the cost for renting this lot in order to fulfill the requirement was $20,137 a year, approximately. That works out to an actual net rent of $19.32. So that's where that would be the rent that normally should have been in place, is $19.32. However, with the loss of the lot, remember, the lease was transacted on the basis that this land was available. There was an expense required. It was going to be recovered from the lease. It is no longer there. So because of this loss, we're now dealing with the market value, not the contract value, because the contract is now gone. The market value is based on, in my opinion, the rents in the rest of the mall. Now, I didn't submit them to human evidence, but the rest of the mall rents for between $15 and $16 a foot. And it's based on the size of the unit. The larger size unit is 15, the smaller size is 16. We're putting $15 on it because that's the rent in the rest of the mall. Now, put this in comparison on page 3, there are several rents of food service operations in Winnipeg and several on Pembina Highway with a high end of $22.50 and a low end of $10, and they range on location, amenities, quality, etc. So this does fall within the range of other rents. It's just gone down in its appeal to the market, and the closest one to it is a very small location at 2795 Pembina, and that's a pizza restaurant, and that's at 1443 for a small building. That actually has a lot of parking. So you do have my modified amount. The $15 works out to $112,635 for rental value, market rental, no more contracts. The heat, there was a mistake at our end. I've been in the kitchen, and of course there's no air conditioning. I don't have the exact dimensions of it. Generally, a kitchen of this style is about 40%. Would be roughly 40% because there's a larger portion of this to bar. Normally, it's 45 to 50% if it's just a food restaurant. With a bar, you're down to about 40%. So I've just estimated that the kitchen is 2,500 feet, which is 33%. And I don't have the exact measurements. So the air conditioned space would be approximately 5,000 square feet or less. So that number was changed. That brings my total ARV to 130,179. Rounding, that's or not rounding, divisible by 12, that's 130,176. And the last issue is, of course, this site was impacted by COVID and shut down for 3 months. And because this was an act of the provincial government and not a market factor, that's a physical closure. The regulations on page 4 should come into effect. And the regulations I'm speaking to are section 341 of the Charter Act. The assessment of real or personal property is required to be reduced because of a change in its physical condition, i.e. Closed. C, that the business assessment of business is required to be reduced because of a reduction in the size of the premises occupied or used for the purpose of business, i.e. from 7509 to 0. And the other section of the Act is F, ceased to be operated and no longer subject to business assessment. That's an F. Now ceased to be operated. It was ceased to be operated. Now, the proper procedure should have been, when these were closed by the province, is that the business assessments should have been shut off legally. And then when they reopened, it could be restarted. And I really don't care that anyone thinks that's a lot of work, because it's a lot of money these people are losing. And thank you very much. That's my presentation. Now, anyway, sorry, the adjusted amount with a COVID closure is 97,632.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Newfield, this lease, do you know the date these leases were cancelled?
I don't have that with me. It's an annual one, and I first heard about it late last year because some of the brokers in our office were asking me questions about it. So it would have been I believe it was in late 2019.
Because this advertisement is the purchase to offer until June 25th,
Well,
2020.
that's when they're taking offers up to, yeah.
Offers. And do you consider that change would be the post-reference information?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is not a market condition. It's a physical change. It's a right to occupy. A contract is broken, and the lease contract is not broken, but it's no longer under consideration. And this is market driven. This is someone takes your land away that you were renting.
Yeah, no, I understand.
No,
I'm not.
it's a physical issue, completely physical issue.
Okay. And also the COVID-19 closures. It is a temporary closure, right? For the 3 months.
Then you know more than the rest of the world if you think it's temporary. I'm not trying to be whatever. Nobody knows. We know it's been 3 months so far, and it started. And the point is, if your business is closed, I believe the act says that you don't pay taxes because the provincial government closed it. The provincial government is the authority on levying taxes in Canada. That is their right. So they can only tax you when you're running a business. When you're not running a business,
no, I
they
understand.
can't tax you.
I understand because we hope when it comes to those 2020 business assessment, it will apply somehow for those changes. But today our base year is 2018 April 1st. We are talking about the 2020 rental rate. I don't know how it will affect for this particular business assessment appeal, but I'm hoping it will affect for your next cycle business assessment appeal.
The Act and case law state that the assessment is based on market information from 2018 and physical condition as of the date of the appeal. Physical condition as the date of the appeal is the lock is in the door and closed. That's not a market factor. It's act of God, force majeure, or however you want to call it. That has nothing to do with market activity. Now, on the business side, I think it's going to apply for 2020. On the real estate side, it's less direct because, of course, not everybody has a restaurant operation. Where it will come into effect will be the definition of the highest and best use. And that is a physical factor because if something is not physically possible in the highest and best use, say for sake of closure, then you have to look at an alternate value on that. And if, the assessor is not recognizing that now, and it would take a court order to do that. And I don't know if anyone's done it yet, but I've got active appeals. All of our restaurants have been appealed. And we think that I received 4 informal legal opinions, and we know that we're on solid ground here. I know that the sympathies of people are with us. I think the roadblock we've had, to be quite frank, is the Board of Revision seems to think it's outside their responsibility and want to pass it on to the municipal board. And that's just my opinion.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Questions, Bob?
I have no questions.
Marla?
No questions.
And no questions. That'll conclude that matter. Last one's the 15-1. Thank you very much.